RailCats fans, and welcome back to another edition of the RailCats Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Savetic, and today we will be discussing potentially the RailCats closer for the season 2023, which came, unfortunately, for the trade for Thomas Walraven. But, you know, he's going on to bigger and better things in his life, his next chapter of life. The positive, though, is it looks like we're going to get a really good relief pitcher out of it. And that is going to be 27-year-old Matt Leon. And I'm going to try and do something a little bit different, sort of, to a certain extent. I'm going to break more down over the course of a couple, seasons or his whole, outside of high school, because they really don't keep that. So, college or any kind of... summer, not so much summer league ball, but more of AAA or any kind of affiliated ball sort of deal. So I'll go back so we can kind of get a whole kind of view on his on a player's progression. And it makes, especially if it's just one person being assigned, it makes the podcast a little bit longer and more kind of discussion instead of, this would happen last season, a quick couple notes here and there, and it's done in 10 minutes, which isn't a terrible thing, but going back and looking through his entire stats, you kind of get a little bit more of a sense of the kind of player that you're going to get and kind of where their career has progressed or digressed to a certain extent. But on the flip side of here, like I said, Matt Leon, he came from the Frontier League, the New York Boulders. He grew up in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He went into Seton Hall University 4 years, posting a 4-8 record, having an ERA of 2.98, played in 88 games while starting in 4 of those games, which is kind of interesting when we get to where he signed, and what they tried to do with him, because that doesn't make any sense what they tried, why they tried it, but we'll go from there. But anyways, he had 16 saves, and he pitched in 136 innings, giving only up 103 hits, giving up 59 runs, 45 which were earned. So, it was one of those, how well was the defense really playing behind him kind of deal in those situations. He only gave up 3 home runs while walking 55 and striking out 121. He had a whip of 1.162, a hit per 9 of 6.8, a home run of per 9, 0.2, walks per 9 were 3.6, and strikeouts per 9 were 8. And on June 15th of 2018, he was signed on an undrafted free agent to the Los Angeles Angels as a starting pitcher. I don't know what realm. I get the conversion from a starting pitcher to a relief role, but and sorry for my dog in the background. He just got done eating. He loves to run around and zoom around after he gets done eating. He likes to go to the carpet, and this is the one of only 2 rooms in this house that has carpet. But anyways, getting back on track here. I could understand if he had more than 4 games or not 4 games. He did start at 4. Out of the 88 games he played, he only started 4 of those. So it's kind of odd that that's where they would transition him to as a starting pitcher, which I can kind of see why it never kind of clicked for him when going through his progressions through, the rookie ball, single A, that kind of deal, which is kind of, it's weird for me in that sort of realm why that happened. And then also to kind of talk about his year span. So I could go as far as in 2019, the 5 games he played in rookie ball, and then he went to single A, and still in 2019, and he went back to. I'm not really going to do a lot of that jumbled around mess kind of deal. I know it's probably following a timeline that you would understand, but if you want to see the timeline, if you want to follow the timeline, go to baseballreference.com. They do a very good job of anyone, really. This is where I get most of my information from. is Baseball Reference, because they track pretty well of what happens in certain situations and blah, blah, and so on and so forth. With that, it's just there's a lot of time that I would have to spend to put in that I don't really have quite necessarily, that I don't want to follow the timeline. It just I don't have much of a timeline to deal with. So with that being said, I'll take he played rookie ball, he played a little bit of single A, and then with the 1 year Atlantic. So I kind of threw the rookie ball together and the single A together and then the Atlantic together. So, over the 2 years, 2 seasons he spent with rookie ball, those stats are going to be together. So it's not like he played 2 years of rookie ball and then went to single A, or went to single A then played two. The single A was kind of in the middle of that humble jumbled mess a little bit. So that's kind of where that's going. So I'll go with the rookie ball. He only played 30 games over the 2 seasons. He went 6-9, had an ERA of 4.46. Started in 19 games. He played in 39, pitching 135 innings, giving up 142 hits. 80 runs, 41 which were earned, 10 home runs, 47 walked, striking out 134. He had a whip of 1.4, hitting hits per 9 was 9.5, home runs per 9 were 7, walks were 4.1, and strikeouts were 11.6. That was in his rookie ball, but I don't know why I put this after that. I must have missed something when I was reading through it. But his senior year at Seton Hall University, he did have the save record of 12 through the entire conference. And that was actually a broken record for Seton themselves. He also starred in 24 appearances as a reliever role, and that was leading most in the conference that Seton was a part of. So, he was more well famed towards the relief role in that portion of it. But, I think where a lot of Matt's kind of flaws came in and out of a little bit was that in rookie ball, I mean, when you look at his rookie ball record, really it's not that bad. I mean, he 4.46 as a starting pitcher. Is it the top of the line? No, but it's usable. What people don't understand quite as much sometimes is that when you're playing in those kind of leagues, or even we'll just even put the American Association League in with this, is you don't necessarily have the top of the top, that 1% cream of the crop players. So some plays that you see in the MLB aren't replicated because the players aren't as fast or as strong as other players in other leagues. So it's not necessarily meaning that Matt may not have, he may have given up a handful of hits, but hits that happen in the outfield or whatever, depending on who you have in the outfield, who can make those catches and who can't, that kind of stuff. I know it seems like baseball is going more towards the heavy hitters, so sometimes with heavy hitters come slower runners. So when that are not, well, yes, slower runners, but then slower fielders at the same time, because they're more focused on getting the ball out of the park. You're not seeing the speed. You're not seeing that 5-tool athlete all the time. You don't that specialty speed guy that you're used to seeing. With the way baseball has kind of changed a little bit. Typically, your center fielders are the person that can run around the entire field, and thank goodness we have Jesus Mariaga that can do that. He's one of those special players that can hit the ball and it has the speed. But I'm just saying, a play that Mike Trout were to make doesn't necessarily mean the players that he has are going to be able to make that play. So sometimes the numbers are a little bit inflated, even in the shortstop era or the second, that kind of stuff. So, pitching is one of those positions that I put it in the realm of goaltenders for hockey, because sometimes things are out of a pitcher's control. You can make a perfect pitch, perfect execution. The batter just hits it and he puts it in a spot that no one's going to get it to. It's the same thing with a goaltender, makes an unbelievable amount of saves, but then the back door's wide open and he doesn't have time to react enough to, and lets a puck in. And the numbers affect the pitchers, and the pitchers are, those numbers kind of affect the pitchers and the hitting aspect and that kind of stuff. those don't show up on a stat, and it's kind of hard to say, oh well, he had this many good pitches, but the batter was just hit the ball in the spot. You don't get the bloopers. You don't see the bloopers or the ones that the second baseman, the shortstop, third baseman, they could have probably got it, but they just didn't react quick enough. That kind of stuff. So you're missing that aspect of the element. So those numbers can always get inflated, in that sense of things. But then going to Burlington Bees, which is a single A, he only played 9 games, where they were all relief roles. So this is, it's kind of weird what how he's been fluctuating in and out. I think he's more towards a reliever role, but then he get put in a situation where your mindset now is a starter, and then you move up and they throw you in a relief role again. I would say it's probably easier for him to be kind of that reliever, but then you could throw him in the pressure of trying to be a starter, and then you throw him back. Then like I said, a lot of people say baseball is 90% mental, so that's one of those where he seems like he's progressing, and then he gets thrown in another position. He just your mindset, your workout rhythm, everything is different, and that's what people don't understand is you may be a pitcher, and it's the same thing with being a DH. Pitching is. Right now it's such a specialty position where that's all you're concerned about is pitching. Sometimes you don't have the opportunity to go and go to the plate and bat and get your mind off of pitching. You don't always get that opportunity, really, not anymore with universal DH throughout all leagues. Pitchers don't have to worry about hitting anymore. And now when you're just one-sided, and even the DH role aspect of it, you don't get the opportunity to play the field to make up for your strikeout, or you go back to the dugout and you're just sitting there and thinking about your next at bat. Same thing with pitching. So starting pitching, you may have a routine, but it may vary from a relief role. So if you're getting thrown up and down, that kind of deal can kind of mess with your psyche a little bit. And around the time that he was playing and all this was COVID's about to start. So his season could have got cut short because of COVID, in that aspect of it. So going back to his single A, he went 2-0 all in a relief period, relief roles, and period, relief role. ERA of 6.30. He pitched 20 innings, gave him 28 hits, 15 runs, 14 which were earned, 4 home runs, gave up 11 walks, striking out 22 at a whip of 1.95. Hits per 9 was 12.6. Home runs were 1.8. Walks 5. Strikeouts 9.9. This is the positive that I'm really getting from Matt is his strikeouts. He's going to strike out a lot of people, and that is something that the RailCats are going to need from the relief pitching, is someone that's going to be able to go out there and shut the door and just close it out and get people to swing and miss. Yes, you want contact in certain situations. Contact helps the pitch count, but majority of that time you want your starting pitching, you want them to be lights out. You want them to be someone that can strike a lot of people, but sometimes getting soft contact lowers the pitch count and lowers the stress on the pitcher themselves, because they don't have to think it's all about them. They can rely on their defense as well. But sometimes you need a reliever that you need 3 batters and you just need them out no matter what. And if you have to burn 20 pitches on those 3 batters, but you strike all of them out, well, that's 20 pitches and you won the game. That's it. You don't need that longevity from a reliever. And I think that's just the RailCats are looking for that guy that just can come in and do that. So after the 29, so this is what I think COVID kind of took into effect here, because he took 3 years off after the 2019 season. Living in the COVID era, I always kind of forget exactly where that COVID started and stopped, and all I know is I was locked in my house for a month. It kind of fizzles out. I mean, I don't remember quite. Some sports started up, some sports stopped. Anyways, after he took a 3-year hiatus. He came back last year, played for the New York Boulders, which is yet again Frontier League. He went 5-1, played in 20 games, all relief role. He had 5 saves and an impressive ERA of 1.8. He pitched in 15 innings, gave up 13 hits, 4 runs, 3 which were earned. giving up 1 home run, walking 6. He had a whip of 1.27. Hits per 9 was 7.8. Home runs per 9 were 0.6. Walks per 9 were 3.6, and strikeouts per 9 were 13.8. So what are we getting out of Matt? What I see what we're going to get out of, just looking through it, is yes, he is probably going to give up hits. He's going to give up minimum amount of walks. He's not going to give up a lot of walks. I don't really think that that's his type of style, is giving up a lot of walks. He's going to strike people out. He's going to give you everything he's got. He's going to throw hard. He's going to be the shutdown guy. And the reason I'm going to say that he's going to come in to be a shutdown guy is because of what Lamar Rogers has said about Matt. And this is what he has to say. Quote, Matt comes to the Cats family after posting impressive numbers in 2020 and will be a valuable piece to our bullpen, unquote. Also had to say, quote, originally a starter with the Angels organizations, he has transitioned and shined coming out of the pen, throwing hard average of 92 to 96 and winning the ball. I look forward to giving him the call from the pen in 2023, unquote. So this is where when I'm talking about the Angels organization, he was a reliever, he was a closer, and then they tried throwing him as a starter, which I never understood quite that. Sometimes it's a little bit different in other sports too. I guess I'll go with hockey because obviously I'm a big hockey fan. I know a lot of people don't understand the game of hockey, but it's different when you draft a right winger and then you play him as a left winger. Sometimes the position there's a tad bit of difference, but not terribly much of a difference. Is there a difference between the relieving and the starting? Yes, and it's enough to kind of make it a difference. Sometimes you can convert a starting pitcher into reliever because, let's say a perfect example is going to be Michael Kopech from the White Sox. He throws hard. He's just not going to last very long. And starting pitchers, you want a little bit of longevity. And I know that Michael Kopech wants to be a starter, but his role should be in the relief appearance because he can give you 3 or 4 games a night where he pitches 1 to 3 innings and he's going to throw hard, up in the hundreds or whatever the case may be for 1 to 3 innings. This is something that Matt, I think that his craft is going to be around, is coming into 1 to 3 innings and throwing your 92 to 96 or even touching that. So you're getting the speed. And those are impressive numbers for the American Association because most times you go to the game and you look at the little pitch clock, most people touch 93. Or you get a couple people that throw a little bit harder than that, but in consistency, about 93. So having someone that can pitch 96 or above will be helpful in that realm of things because the ball is going to come in a lot harder. Now, when the ball comes in a lot harder, sometimes it goes a lot further. But it seems like he keeps the ball in the stadium, and that's a positive that the RailCats are going to need. Not so much at the Steel Yard, but when you go to other places, like the Depot seems to be a huge hot spot for all that, or even Impact Field. It's a little bit shorter field. The RailCats have one of the biggest fields, or not if the biggest field in the American Association. And, having a pitcher that can keep the ball in the park is always a positive because, you don't want to give up those massive numbers. And it looks like, his home runs per 9 are down. And you want them to be obviously below 1. Most of the time it's below 5. And that's really impressive over the course of a handful of games. So I think he will get a lot of roles. There's 100 games in the American Association. I would expect him to be on the mound anywhere from 70 to 80% of the time, in games at least, getting some kind of reps. I could see him throwing close to 100 innings for the RailCats. Do I see him more as a closing role? I definitely do. And having someone like Matt, maybe in the Cleburne series, the RailCats could have potentially got into the playoffs, and you kind of never know what goes on from there. The RailCats really didn't have a closer, especially after Carlos Vega left, and that's you need someone like this, and this is someone that's going to give you that. Hopefully, going to give you that. Obviously, this is all this is all speculation, kind of sort of sense, because I've never watched Matt play. I don't know what kind of competition he plays against. There's not enough film. I looked to see if I can find some kind of film on him, and I just can't. But like I said, I think this is a good I think this was a positive for the RailCats being able to, get something for Walraven, because even if Walraven were just walked away from the game and they didn't get and they didn't get anything for him, it would have been a shame, sort of thing, just for the from the business standpoint of it. I don't think either way. RailCats it's a bittersweet. RailCats fans are bittersweet about Walraven leaving, but then it kind of lightens the load a little bit because you bring in a piece of the puzzle that you're going to need. And this is, I think they're bolstering up the bullpen. I think they need to get one or two more starters. I know Lamar Rogers likes this starter, but then can relieve kind of. I guess I'm a little bit old school when it comes to that kind of stuff. I want a starter to be a starter, a reliever be a reliever. If you want to convert a reliever into a starter midway through the season, that's fine. But always playing that back and forth kind of is just kind of what you do with Eisenberger, that kind of deal. He started and he was relieving. I just don't know how that works out well sometimes. But that's neither here or there on that aspect of it. I'm just excited for the season to get ready to going. I don't know about you, but I'm excited. I was joking with my wife last night. I said she was talking about WNBA Sky playing someone in Canada the May 11th, and I'm like, oh yeah, the RailCats are 2 days after that, and she looked at me and she goes, if it's cold, rainy, or whatever the case may be, I'm not going. I said, I don't care. I'm going either way. So, I'm definitely going to be there. Even if I have to work at 6 o'clock the next morning, I'm going to be at the game. Like, I'm going to be there. And it's going to be fun. I don't care what the temperature's going to be or whatever it's going to, but at least it's like a little bit later in May where the temperature kind of starts to rise a little bit. It's not going to be like that early April where you might get some snow flurries. I don't even think really last year, I know the home opener was a little bit warmer, but it rained. That kind of aspect of it. So that's a good time to kind of start playing baseball in that realm right there. But I'm just excited for it. I'm excited to see, more accusations, more. I can't. I'm lost of words for what I'm trying to say. But I'm looking to see if we are able to get any more people. And I don't really know. Like I said, they've. If people want to come back, they have the rights to everyone except Jackson. Why can't I think of his name now? Jackson Smith. There we go. They released him, so obviously, if anyone wants to come back, they can. I don't know if they're going to announce that or if that's just something we're going to find out a little bit later when the season's about to start. But I'm excited for the season. I definitely think they need to add a couple more pieces to the bullpen or starting pitching. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think they should add, or what are we potentially missing? What positions do we really need to kind of upgrade a little bit? And if it's defensively, if it's offensively, what are we looking for in that aspect of thing? And then one more thing about Matt, which I'm liking with what Lamar Rogers is doing, is he's bringing a little bit older guys, 27, 28, which are going to help the younger guys. Always having that nice balance between older and younger. It always kind of levels itself out, because sometimes the older players know what it takes sometimes to win, or they've already been there. They've been there through tough times or whatever the case may be. So they're more experienced, but then they feed off the younger guys' energy, wanting to come in and prove themselves, and vice versa. The younger guys are, when they're down and they're out of it, they can lean on an older guy and they can walk them through it. And sometimes younger players want to play for older players because they know the older player may only have 1 or 2 more years left. They may not, that kind of brotherhood-ish kind of goes in between. So I think having a nice balance of those two really helps the ball club. And I'm not expecting to go out and win the Miles Wolf Cup. I'm not expecting that. Now, if that happens, that'd be great. But we're going to take baby steps here. I'm expecting to, at the end of the year, still fighting for a playoff position and being in the playoffs, so we have something to watch in September, later in September, hopefully before my first anniversary, so that kind of stuff. But that's what I'm saying. I want to see that. That's what I want to see from this team, is that next step forward. Because realistically, sometimes in the American Association, you may have a great year and the next year terrible because you don't bring anyone back, which is always a possibility. It's one of those, you're always maybe consistently in a rebuild-ish, because you never know how it's going to work out. It's not like the major league players are signed to an 8. They're not signed to an 8-year contract. But yet again, in all sports, you may have the best team in the world, and then you go off and you don't win another game. One of those things. Sports are really weird when it comes to that kind of stuff. But yeah, just let me know what you guys think. I appreciate you guys staying for 26, 27 minutes with me, just talking about RailCats baseball and the new signings and stuff like that. I'm just excited for the new year to start. But yeah, if you have any ideas or you want to comment on anything down below, just let me know. Leave a like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. All that good stuff. I want you to enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you're watching this. And go Cats.